The Samsung Galaxy S26 series is shaping up to follow a familiar and somewhat controversial path. Reports now strongly suggest that Samsung will once again be releasing two different variants of its flagship phones, depending on where you live. Some regions, particularly Europe, will be getting the Galaxy S26 powered by Samsung's in-house Exynos 2600 processor. Meanwhile, markets like the US and others will be getting a more powerful Snapdragon variant, likely the Snapdragon 8 Gen 4 or 8 Elite 2. This move feels like a step backward to many fans who had hoped Samsung would maintain the same consistency achieved with the Galaxy S25 series, where every model globally was powered by the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. But now, it seems like we're going back to the Exynos of a Snapdragon debate. And yes, history tells us that Exynos chips typically don't perform on par with their Snapdragon counterparts, especially when it comes to thermal efficiency, battery life, and GPU performance. Samsung has made progress with the Exynos 2600, a chip built on the company's new 2-in process. But according to insiders, the production yields just aren't good enough yet for a full global rollout. That's why Samsung is taking the safer route, using Exynos chips only in certain markets where they expect less backlash or where it's more financially viable. Unfortunately, that means users in Europe may once again be saddled with a version that doesn't quite match up to the one available in North America and parts of Asia. Interestingly, Samsung had initially aimed to power the entire Galaxy S26 lineup with the Exynos 2600, which would have marked a major step forward in its goal to become less dependent on Qualcomm. But due to the challenges with 2-in production and yield rates, they had to scale back those ambitions, at least for now. On the brighter side, there's some upside for Samsung in this situation. Rumors suggest that the company is in talks with Qualcomm to handle manufacturing duties for the Snapdragon chips themselves. If Samsung Foundry gets to manufacture the Snapdragon 8 Elite 2, or whatever the final name ends up being, it not only helps cut costs, but also boosts the reputation of its semiconductor division. That's a win for Samsung's long-term plans, even if the Exynos rollout isn't going as smoothly as they'd hoped. As of now, it looks like the Exynos 2600-powered Galaxy S26 models will be shipped only in Europe, while the rest of the world gets the Snapdragon version. This wouldn't be the first time Samsung has made this kind of regional distinction. Back in the Galaxy S22 series, all three models sold in Europe were powered by the Exynos 2200, while Snapdragon 8 Gen 1 chips were used in all other regions. Despite customer dissatisfaction, especially from European buyers who felt they were getting the inferior version, Samsung seems willing to make the same decision again. What's still unclear is whether all three Galaxy S26 models, the base S26, the S26 Plus, and the S26 Ultra, will follow this same pattern. Earlier leaks suggest that while the S26 and S26 Plus might come with Exynos in Europe, the Ultra will use the Snapdragon chip globally, just like the Galaxy S24 Ultra did with the Snapdragon 8 Gen 3. That would make the Ultra a more consistent performer no matter where you buy it, which could influence purchasing decisions heavily in Europe. Personally, I've always been optimistic about the potential of Exynos, especially when you look at what Apple has achieved with its own in-house silicon. Apple's M-series chips have revolutionized their devices, and Samsung clearly wants Exynos to follow a similar path. The dream is a seamless hardware-software integration that only in-house chips can provide, something Huawei is also chasing with its Kirin processors. Samsung Foundry's progress from stabilizing its 3-in process to now developing 2-in chips is impressive. If they had stuck with a 3-in version of the Exynos 2600, maybe the yield would have been good enough for a global rollout, but it seems like Samsung was more focused on pushing forward technologically rather than playing it safe. That risk has left them with a chip that's solid but not yet viable for every Galaxy S26 unit around the world. At the end of the day, most consumers probably won't notice a huge difference between the Snapdragon and Exynos versions in everyday use, at least not on paper. But tech enthusiasts and loyal Samsung fans know better. And for those who follow mobile chipsets closely, this kind of regional variation feels like a compromise. What do you think about it? Share your thoughts in the comments below. Thanks for watching. See you in the next video. Peace out.